Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 36 of the Joe Cannon Health Podcast. I'm Joe Cannon, back for another week where we talk about exercise, supplements, health, wellness, you name it, everything under the sun to help you keep living your life to its best, all without the hype, no spin, no testimonials, just the facts in plain English. This week, the main topic I want to talk about are immune boosting tactics and dietary supplements to help you stay healthy. We are living in a crazy time, as you all know, and there's a lot of stuff being said about how to keep the immune system healthy. What I want to do in our time together this week is talk about what works, what science says about things that you can do to keep your immune system strong. And one of the pledges I have made myself before going live today is I'm not going to say the C word. And you know what I'm talking about because you can't turn on the news right now without hearing about this. I am sick and tired of it, as I'm sure you are as well. In fact, I've actually gone on a news diet. I refuse to watch the news because that's all they want to talk about. And I think they're actually fanning the fires here. I think they're a real reason why people are hoarding toilet paper and other things. Toilet paper, really? I would have never imagined that would ever happen. But regardless, we're not going to talk about the C word in this episode. I'm not going to say it, except for maybe referring to it that way, because I want you to hear things that don't involve that word. I think it's over and done with as far as I'm concerned. So that's what we're going to talk about. Immune health, and I'm going to talk about things that you're not hearing about in terms of, we're not going to talk about washing your hands or anything like that. I want to cover some things that our science is saying that'll help improve your immune health. Now, before I get into any of that, I do want to talk about the myth of the week, and this one has been around a long time, and it is the idea that eating grapefruit can help people lose weight. Grapefruit juice, it's been a popular weight loss fad for decades, but does it actually work? I did some investigation into this, and I found one very intriguing study. It involved 85 overweight people. They were put on a low-calorie diet, not a lot, just about 12% less per day, and before each meal, they were randomly given either 4 ounces of grapefruit, 4 ounces of grapefruit juice, or 4 ounces of water, and they did this for 3 months. So they ate a low-calorie diet for 3 months, and before each meal, they drank some grapefruit, they ate some grapefruit, or they drank a little bit of water. After this study was over, they measured them before and after, and they found that everybody had lost about 7% of their body weight. But there was no difference in weight loss between those who drank water or drank grapefruit juice or ate a grapefruit. Everybody lost the same amount of weight. Again, it was about 7%. Remember, everybody just ate fewer calories, and that's likely why everybody lost weight, not because of some magical ingredient in grapefruit. But there are some rays of sunshine in this investigation. I did read it, and I wanted to point these things out to you. While drinking water or grapefruit didn't cause any greater weight loss, drinking grapefruit juice and eating grapefruit did appear to reduce hunger. And so that's a strategy worth checking out. The same thing happened in people who drank water. So if you want to drink a little bit of water, make a glass of water before eating a meal, or grapefruit juice before a meal, or eat a little grapefruit, that might actually cause a lower consumption of calories. And that makes sense because when the food, a low-calorie food, or the water or the grapefruit juice hits your stomach, that stretches your stomach a little bit, and that might give you some reductions in hunger, for instance. Interestingly, the grapefruit juice seemed to reduce hunger more than either water or grapefruit. I thought that was odd that grapefruit juice would be better at curbing hunger than grapefruit, because grapefruit has some fiber, and my thought would be that fiber might fill us up and help us curb hunger a little bit. But actually, grapefruit juice appeared to work a little bit better. In this investigation, they used Ocean Spray grapefruit juice, but they didn't take part in this study, and they didn't sponsor the study. As far as I could tell, the researchers had no connection to that company. But if you're looking for grapefruit juice, they actually used Ocean Spray, which you can find at any supermarket. Another plus side of the study is that those eating grapefruit and drinking grapefruit juice showed significant increases in good cholesterol levels, HDL levels. And that's very interesting. You didn't see that in the water group. In fact, those drinking water, their HDL, their good cholesterol, actually went down a little bit. So does grapefruit cause weight loss? Well, not according to this and a couple other studies out there on this topic. So I will call this one a myth, but adding grapefruit juice or eating grapefruit, adding that to your weight loss regimen may have other health benefits, such as maybe raising HDL levels. And heck, maybe even the fiber in the grapefruit might alter the microbiome. So, if you like grapefruit or grapefruit juice, I would say terrific. Keep doing it. I really don't see any issues with it, except for maybe if you're taking medications. That's kind of the only caveat I would mention here, that there is a well-known effect where grapefruit may interfere with the absorption of some medications. So if that applies to you, talk to your doctor first. But other than that, I don't have a problem with grapefruit. But the grapefruit weight loss effect has been around a long time. I wanted to call attention to it. Again, there may not be anything to it, but it may have some other health properties as well. So there you have it. So if we leave the myth of the week alone for now, let's talk about some different strategies that may help improve your immune wellness and maybe help reduce the odds of getting colds and flus in the future. So the first thing I want to talk about is exercise. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention it in this episode, because it turns out there is more evidence for exercise improving the immune systems of human beings than any other thing I'm going to talk about today. So if you're not exercising on a regular basis, this is definitely something you want to take a look at. Exercise can raise various aspects of the immune system, including natural killer cells. These are things that go around and hunt down and kill cancer cells, macrophages, different amounts of B cells, B lymphocytes in our body. I could spend an entire episode just on exercise and immune health. There are, for instance, studies showing that exercise can boost the immune systems in people who have HIV, cancer, as well as in healthy younger people and even older folks too. And it doesn't appear to take a lot of exercise to see these health benefits. You don't have to go out and run a marathon or go and work out in the gym all day long either. Something as simple as maybe a walk for about 20 minutes or so a few times a week would do a really good job on helping immunity. For example, back in the 1990s, there was a very interesting study that came out. They looked at the effect of moderate exercise and the common cold in older women. And by moderate exercise, I mean you can carry on a conversation while you're exercising. You're not exercising to exhaustion. So what did they find? So in these older women, the incidence of common cold symptoms was only 21% in those women who exercised 40 minutes a day, 5 days a week. In the women who didn't exercise at all, the risk of getting the common cold was 50%. So there you have it. There's big proof right there. Women who exercise moderately most days of the week, they had a significant reduction in cold and basically the common cold symptoms, versus those who didn't do anything, their risk was 50%. This study also showed something very interesting. In the women who exercise moderately for 1.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, their risk of getting the common cold was only 8%. This suggests that the length of time you exercise also plays a role in the immune system. Remember, this was an investigation of older women. And sometimes as we get older, our immune systems get weaker. It's sometimes called immunosenescence. Immunosenescence is fancy talk for your immune system gets old and it doesn't work so well. Well, in the women who were working out the most, their natural killer cells, those are the immune system cells that go around and hunt down and kill cancer cells, their natural killer cells were superior. They were better. Not only were they better than the women who didn't exercise at all, but they were also better than the younger women who didn't exercise either. And these were women who were ages from 19 to 25 years of age. So in this older population, the women, and again, these were older women, they were 67 to 85 years of age. And they found that if they worked out the most, their immune systems were, in some respects, better than younger women. That shows you right then and there that this immunosenescence effect, this old immune system effect, does not appear to be something that's inevitable. Exercise appears to enhance the immune system and in some ways make it better than younger people who don't exercise. So that's a take-home message I think really needs to get out, especially to the older population. Exercising, again, I'm saying just do anything, even a 20-minute walk, but remember, there does appear to be a dose response here, that the more you do, up to a limit, as I'll point out, up to a limit, but there does appear to be a dosage response where the more you do, there does appear to be even greater benefits. Now, in terms of what's better, aerobic exercise, or like, for instance, walking or swimming, or resistance exercise like strength training, I can tell you that most of the research on exercise and immune system does involve aerobic type activities like walking or biking, for instance. The studies on strength training and the immune system, there's not as many out there. They tend to show that it may help or not help the immune system. It doesn't make it worse, but it may not, according to the research so far, make it better. Regardless, if you're doing strength training, and I'd recommend you do, I would say keep doing it. Strength training, even if it doesn't affect the immune system, it is, as many of you know, it has a tremendous amount of other benefits. It helps your muscles stay strong, your bones stay strong. It can help, especially if we get older, it can help our abilities to get around the house and do our daily activities like carrying groceries up steps better. So I would say keep doing strength training regardless of its effects on the immune system. Because again, immune system is important, but there's more to us than the immune system. Sidebar, since we are living in some crazy times right now, people are talking about this, but even when times do get better, if you are working out in a gym, I can't say this strong enough, wipe down the equipment, the machines, the barbells, the dumbbells, whatever. Wipe it down before you use it and after you use it. I don't see very many people wiping down equipment before they use it. I have recently because of recent events, but not prior to that. So I would say get in the habit of wiping down equipment before you use it and after as well. You just don't know who's using that stuff before you are. And even if you're, sitting on a machine or something like that, germs can linger on equipment for a while, and you don't want to be taking that stuff home with you, and you get in your car and next thing you know it's in your car and all that stuff. Again, I don't want to be a germaphobe about all this stuff, but I would suggest wiping down stuff before and after you use it. Now, I mentioned that I think up to a point exercise has beneficial effects. What about people who are super, super fit and they go out and they run marathons, for instance? Would they be at a lower risk still of getting the cold? Turns out probably no. There is some evidence out there that does appear to show that exercise can be a double-edged sword. And I'm just going to summarize some of the research out there on these things. So there was a study that came out in the 1980s. This one looked at upper respiratory infections in 150 South African marathon runners who were participating in a 56-kilometer ultra marathon. That's about 100 miles for us in America. Yeah, there are people who will go out and run 100 miles. So what they found was about a third of those people had symptoms of upper respiratory tract infections 2 weeks after running their ultra marathon. This was contrasted by only a 15% risk in upper respiratory effects in those who did not run the upper marathon. So according to this study, people who run ultra marathons, they appear to be at a greater risk of getting colds and flus about 2 weeks or so after they run their marathon compared to those who are not marathon runners. Another interesting study came out. Again, this one goes back to about 1989. These researchers looked at over 2,300 marathon runners who were running the Los Angeles Marathon back in 1989. They compared them to the runners who signed up for the marathon, but they never made it. They weren't sick, but maybe their car broke down or they had to take the kids to school. Something happened. These were marathon runners. They had trained for the marathon, but they never made it to the marathon. What did these researchers find? 2 weeks after the marathon, those who ran it, they had symptoms of upper respiratory disorders and almost about 13%, while it was only about 2% in those marathon runners who never made it to the marathon. So the take-home message, and it's funny, and I'll just recount to you the ending of that study, because when I was in college, I would write papers on things that few other people were talking about, and this was actually a paper that I wrote in college. I did a big paper on exercise and immune system back then, and I remember this study very well. And I remember the ending of the study. The researchers basically came to this conclusion. They said, if you want to take care of your immune system, train as if you're going to run a marathon, but never run it. So those words stuck with me all these years. And it does appear to drive home the message that if you are very physically fit, that's great. But the mere fact of running that ultramarathon appears to really put some negative stress on the immune system, which can persist for a couple of weeks. Now, I don't want to dissuade anybody from running marathons. It's great, and again, I just want to throw this out to you that exercise may be a double-edged sword. Fortunately, most of us will never face that other edge because most of us are not out there running marathons. But if at least the research appears to show that if you're exercising up to about an hour and a half a day, that doesn't appear to be a negative detriment to immune health. But going out and running 100 miles or 25 or 26 miles, that actually might in some individuals. So take that for what it is. If you're not a marathon runner, you don't have to worry about this. If you are a marathon runner, then just be aware this is a possibility and make sure that after you're done your marathon, you make sure that you load up on some good foods to help bolster your immune system. We'll talk about that in a few minutes too. So if we leave exercise alone, again, I can't stress that has the most evidence. The next thing is something that I think a lot of people probably have not thought of, but maybe they want to after this, how about getting a massage? So there is research that massages can help bolster the immune system. Matter of fact, one study noted that just one single 45-minute Swedish massage improved the immune function in normal, healthy people. And that effect appeared to persist for about a week after the massage ended. So they get a massage on Monday and their immune system is still strong Saturday and Sunday. There's at least one other study on preterm infants noting that when they gave these preemies massage 5 days a week for a month, or they didn't give them any massage, they noted that the preemies that had the massage, they had higher levels of natural killer cells and they weighed more than the babies that did not get the massage. There are at least 2 studies also noting that massage improves immune system integrity in men with HIV. And there's other studies out there as well showing that regular massage can improve the immune health of women with breast cancer as well. So again, it's something to look at down the road. Maybe after all this craziness has ended, that if you like massage, I would say keep doing it. If we move away from massage and let's talk about food. So are there any foods that can help the immune system? Across the board, I would say, yeah, eat more fruits and vegetables. Again, we could probably spend an entire episode on just fruits and vegetables, but the effects of these foods on the immune system is probably wide-ranging. One of the effects overall they appear to have in general is reducing inflammation. Now, cellular inflammation is generally not so good for us. You don't want to have a lot of inflammation in the body when you're not sick. Generally, if you reduce inflammation, this appears to help the immune system work better. So again, eating a more, I don't want to say vegan diet, because I don't think you need to go vegan. You can have a steak and all that stuff and hamburger. You can do that. But I think we really should eat a more colorful diet, more fruits, more veggies, more beans, more seeds. They do appear to help the immune system function better in a wide array of effects. For instance, the fiber in the fruits and veggies most likely will alter the gut microbiome. The microbiome are the little microbes, bacteria that live inside of us and on us. We know that if you eat more fruits and veggies in less than a month, your microbiome composition has changed and you have a greater diversity of the microbes inside of you. The greater the diversity, the more healthier we tend to be. Think of the fiber as the food of the microbiome. It's sometimes called prebiotics in the supplement world. A prebiotic is the food of probiotic bacteria. Think of it that way. In general, I think fruits and vegetables are great. It turns out that berries in particular have a lot of immune system research on them. So if you're eating berries, great. Doesn't really seem to matter what kind of berries, but there are various animal and human studies out there that have been conducted on red raspberries, black raspberries, grapes, mulberries, blueberries. They all appear to have health benefits. And that, again, that goes beyond even the immune system. So if you're like me and you like blueberries, that's great. Actually, you always add frozen blueberries to my world famous breakfast chocolate oatmeal. So I would say do that. Okay, it's really not so world famous, but I like to think it is. It's basically just oatmeal. I throw in a little bit of chocolate protein powder, some frozen blueberries, and some walnuts and pecans, and that I usually have that for breakfast, especially in the wintertime. Try it; it's actually really good. So again, berries, can't speak more highly of them. Again, the colors in the berries most likely help the immune system in a multitude of ways. So fruits, veggies, berries, grapes, whatever you like. If it's colorful, eat it. It's definitely good for your immune system and good for us in a multitude of other ways as well. The other thing I would say to do to bolster your immune system is start drinking more tea. That's actually something I'm going to do when I get finished recording this episode today. The compounds in tea, well, first off, I want you to know there's a lot of compounds in tea, but the ones that get all the attention are a class of plant chemicals called flavonoids. Flavonoids are, there are a lot of them in tea and other foods, but the class of flavonoids that get all the attention in terms of tea are called catechins. Catechins are phytonutrient flavonoids. They're found in tea, green tea, white tea, black tea. They're also found in berries, multitude of other foods. They're even found in chocolate. This is one of the reasons why people are talking about eating dark chocolate, that, not the milk chocolate you see maybe in the candy store, but the dark chocolate that doesn't taste sweet. They also have these flavonoid catechin compounds. These flavonoids, these catechins, they are antioxidants. And so as they're antioxidants, that means they neutralize free radicals, which you don't want to have too many free radicals floating around inside your cells. They can do some damage. And so fortunately, we have some natural antioxidant defenses to deal with the onslaught of too many free radicals. But foods like berries, tea, fruits, and vegetables, they have these antioxidant compounds which can help us out. When it comes to these catechins, the one that gets all the attention in tea, especially green tea, is called EGCG. EGCG. I'm not even going to pronounce the word because if I tried to, you'd quickly realize that I'd butcher the word. I've tried to say it in the past and to sound smart, and it never works out in my favor. So I'm just going to call it EGCG because that's how it's usually showing up in, say, green tea supplements. It's nothing more than a catechin, and it's a type of flavonoid, which is a plant chemical. Again, it's an antioxidant. Even though the EGCG compound gets a lot of attention, I can't even tell you how many clinical studies are out there on this. I want you to keep in mind that tea has over 2,000 different bioactive chemicals. So tea is more than just the benefits you might get from EGCG. Again, I just want you to realize that because you hear so much about EGCG, at least I do, especially in the dietary supplement world, that I want you to know there's a lot going on in tea just besides that one catechin. And since, we're talking tea and kind of we're talking green tea here because, there's a lot of EGCG in green tea, I want you to know that white tea is, because white tea is out there as well. White tea is just green tea. And is basically harvested earlier. So think of white tea as like baby green tea. They just get it a little sooner, and white tea doesn't have caffeine in it. The green tea generally has caffeine unless it's been removed from the tea, but white tea is caffeine free. As the tea matures, then it's going to, be more green tea and it's going to have more caffeine. But white tea, if you like white tea, it's just as good as green tea in many respects. There's even studies showing that white tea is better than green tea. You don't hear that message very much. So I'm purposely here saying drinking more tea because green tea gets all the attention, but I want you to know tea in general is very healthy for us. So if you like green tea, great. If you like Earl Grey tea, great. If you like white tea, great. Tea is tea. And again, it's the tea that's important, not necessarily what type of tea you're using. There have been, for instance, several studies out there. Many of them were done in the 1990s, but they were well-done studies, so I think they're just as relevant today. Drinking tea appears to be associated with reduced risk of getting colds and flu symptoms. There's even one study out there that I noted that found that gargling with green tea catechins appeared to help reduce flu infection as well. I think that gargling, if you want to do it, that's great with green tea. I'd rather you drink the tea. And the other thing I would say when it comes to tea is we're so used to drinking green tea or any kind of tea that, I would say, why not throw your tea in a smoothie and make a smoothie out of it? I've got, for instance, a little hermetically sealed container I got from Bed Bath & Beyond. Wasn't expensive at all. And when I go to the supermarket, I sit there at my kitchen counter and I cut open the tea bags and I put it in this hermetically sealed container. And I've got a little tiny scoop that came with one of my vitamin things years ago. And I just scoop out a little bit of it and I throw it in a smoothie. So you can drink the green tea if you want, or you can add it to a smoothie. Heck, you can even look at the tea as a spice as well. For instance, you could throw the loose tea into a crock pot and cook with it. How about that? I've done that. So I like to make, turkey, sweet potato, chili in my crock pot. So I will, in addition to all the other spices I throw in there, I'll throw in green tea as well. So you can cook with this stuff as well. So it, just give you some ideas. If you're like, well, I don't have the time to be drinking tea. I don't know why. It's pretty easy, but you can always cook with it. And there's nothing easier than making a smoothie with green tea in it, or any kind of tea. Actually, the little container I have in my kitchen right now has a combination of green tea and black tea. So again, I like to mix and match because, again, I think all these things are better when they're combined with other things that help them work in synergy together. So I know what you're thinking. Since I mentioned green tea a couple of times in this episode, you may be saying, can I take a green tea supplement and get the same benefits? I don't think so. The reason I say that is green tea supplements and green tea, or tea in general, may not always be the same thing. For example, supplement companies usually like to load up on what they think is the active ingredient. Like I mentioned that ECGC compound a minute ago. I see that a lot in green tea supplements. But remember, there's over 2,000 bioactive compounds in green tea and other teas. It's not just about EGCG. Supplement companies usually like to load up on what they think is the key ingredient, and I think biology is more complicated than that. And so I don't think you get the same benefits from a green tea supplement as you would, say, drinking the tea or cooking with the tea, for that matter. I've just seen too many times in the past where plant chemicals, they just seem to play better when they're around all their other plant chemical buddies. So they just play better together. Sometimes when you take a compound out of food and you concentrate it in a pill, for instance, you may get a different response than when you ate the food or drank the food in the case of tea. I'm just not a big fan of the green tea supplements. And then the other reason the reason I want to address this thing is that, I'm not a fan of green tea supplements in general, because there have been several reports that seem to link green tea supplements to liver failure. I just don't think green tea supplements are ready for prime time. I know they're popular. I'm not a fan of them. So I'd recommend that you drink the tea or cook with the tea, whatever, and not use green tea supplements. I don't think they're the same thing. Now, speaking of supplements, are there any dietary supplements that you might use that might bolster your immune system? Well, there are a few, and I want to point you to the ones that I feel have some of the most evidence out there. And the first dietary supplement I want to bring to your attention is called aged garlic extract. As the name suggests, this is not garlic. It's an extract from garlic, and it is aged. They basically put the garlic in big vats, and they age them for over a year, and they extract this compound. And there are some very intriguing studies on aged garlic extract, showing that it appears to have a wide range of benefits in the body, lowering cholesterol levels and inflammation, maybe even reducing plaque in the blood vessels. It's a very intriguing compound. This is actually one that I take myself. What about the immune system? Could this aged garlic extract help the immune system itself? Well, there are studies on this, and that's one of the reasons I'm bringing this to your attention. In one of these investigations, researchers gave aged garlic extract supplements or a placebo to 120 healthy people for 3 months during cold and flu season. I like the fact they used cold and flu season in this study. After 45 days of taking the aged garlic extract, the people had improved T cells. T cells are immune system cells. They had higher levels of natural killer cells as well. And that's compared to the placebo group. So the placebo group didn't have a bolstering of the immune system, but those getting the aged garlic extract did. And when they took this for 90 days, after the 3-month study was up, those who were in the aged garlic extract group, those taking the supplement, they had reduced incidence of cold and flu severity. They had fewer symptoms of cold and flus, and they missed fewer days at work and school. So that's pretty interesting to me. They not only had less severity of cold and flu, they had less symptoms, and they made it to school and work more often than those who took a placebo. In another investigation, 51 healthy overweight people were given the aged garlic extract supplement or a placebo. After these 6-week study was over, those who were taking the supplement, they had lower pro-inflammatory compounds in their body, but you didn't see that in the placebo group. So the supplement appeared to lower inflammation in the body, and it also increased T cells. T cells, again, are immune system cells. So aged garlic extract, maybe something to take a look at. Been around a long time. Again, I don't think a lot of people have heard of this compound. It's available at pretty much every health food store. It's not expensive either, in spite of the fact that there is a lot of research on this particular product. What I would say is there's a lot of formulas. If you go look at the store for this stuff, there's a lot of formulas of formula, this, or it'll have numbers next to them. I personally like Formula 100. That's the one that I use. I think it has the most of the aged garlic extract. I'll link to it in the description so you could check it out for yourself. If I leave the aged garlic extract alone, there's another supplement out there that also has some interesting research on it, and that's called Juice Plus. So Juice Plus is, as the name kind of describes, it's a fruit and vegetable dietary supplement. Essentially, it's dried up fruits and vegetables. It's in a capsule form. This product has also been around a long time, and it has multiple human clinical studies on it, appearing to show that it has a variety of different health benefits. Some of this research also appears to show that this Juice Plus fruit and vegetable supplement may improve the immune system too. One investigation, 59 healthy students, these were actually law students, were given the Juice Plus supplement or a placebo for 77 days. And after the study, they found that they did blood tests on all these individuals, before and after blood tests. And they found that those getting the supplement had a 30% increase in T cells. And interesting, they also had a 40% reduction in DNA damage of their white blood cells compared to those in the placebo group. It didn't show that. So not only did they appear to have an increase in these T lymphocytes, but the DNA of their white blood cells was better. It wasn't as damaged as those who were taking basically a placebo. Another study has also noted less DNA damage in white blood cells after taking the Juice Plus supplement after only 60 days. Another study on this particular product also noted the supplement increased the activity of natural killer cells when it was given to smokers and non-smokers for 2 months. And most intriguingly, there's also research showing that people taking the Juice Plus supplement had fewer sick days. This one actually involved some police officers who were taking the supplement for a month. So I read that particular study, and at the end of the study, the researchers said, well, there was not a significant difference in the fewer sick days in the placebo versus the Juice Plus group. But when I looked at the sick days, I found that those who were taking the supplement had 26 fewer sick days than those who were taking the placebo. So to me, 26 fewer sick days is a lot. Basically, you're on the job a month longer than those who didn't take the supplement. So Take that for what it is. Another supplement that has some interesting research on it is elderberry. Again, elderberry's been around a long time. You can get it at pretty much any health food store. And there are several studies showing that eating elderberries and basically drinking elderberry juice appears to help the immune system stay strong. A review of previous elderberry studies noted that those consuming elderberry had significantly reduced risk of getting upper respiratory symptoms. So elderberry, again, not expensive, and it's pretty much in most health food stores. And then rounding out my list of supplements to consider for bolstering your immune system would be vitamin D. I know a lot of people have told me in all the craziness that's going on right now, they have increased their vitamin D intake. Generally, it gets popular in flu season as a rule, but I think now more than ever, it appears to be. I'm going to go to Vitamin Shop, I think, today and ask them what supplements are flying off the shelf. I'm kind of curious myself. But when it comes to vitamin D, I think it has a multitude of effects in the body. Every cell of your body has receptors for vitamin D. That tells you alone it's really important for many different reasons. Vitamin D is an interesting vitamin. I sometimes call it hormone D because I think if it was discovered today, it would be more of a hormone. Vitamin D looks like a hormone to me. When I look at the chemical structure, it looks like cholesterol, it looks like testosterone, it looks like estrogen and other hormones. And so that alone tells you it appears to have a very diverse range of effects in the body. For instance, off topic a little bit, but there's even clinical studies showing vitamin D supplements reduce falls in older adults. Think about that. Older adults taking vitamin D, they don't seem to fall as much. What kind of vitamin does that? So again, that just gets to the whole effect that vitamin D appears to have a broad spectrum of effects in the body. And there are immune system vitamin D studies out there in both adults as well as babies. And I think vitamin D is probably worth taking a look at, but that said, I think if it's going to help your immune system, it's probably going to work best in people who are deficient in vitamin D. If you had optimal levels of vitamin D, I'm not so sure, but in those who are deficient, I think it probably would have some effect. That said, I think also a lot of people may be deficient in vitamin D as well. We don't go out as much, and when we do go outside, we wear a sunscreen. And again, as you know, we make vitamin D when we go outside in the sun. Well, if you're wearing a sunscreen, you're blocking a lot of that. Interestingly, I've actually met people who spend all day in the sun. I remember one person who was actually training for a triathlon, and he had done before and after vitamin D tests on himself and noted that his levels of vitamin D were still low, even though he was out biking and running and swimming all day long training for his triathlon. So it's possible that some people may be deficient and not know. Again, the only way to really know is to get a test, and you can go to your doctor and get a test. There are even some home test kits you can do as well to measure your levels. But getting your levels checked is probably the first step to see if vitamin D is right for you. So there is my list of immune-enhancing tactics and dietary supplements. Yeah, I do think there's more things out there that may help the immune system in terms of even, say, dietary supplements. But the things I listed today, especially the supplements, those are the things that have the most evidence. And so if you're looking for things, I personally like the things that have the most evidence, and that's the stuff that I'll look at first. And again, I can't overstress the impact of exercise. So if you're going to try anything to help your immune system, get out and take a walk for a little bit of time. That's going to do a great job. I have made it through this entire episode, and I have not used the C word. I told myself I was not going to on purpose because I didn't want to add to your frustrations as it adds to mine when I hear that word. So I do want to just, as a sidebar, just say that there's no evidence that any of this stuff that I've talked about today reduces the risk of getting the C thing. And the same thing goes for all the other dietary supplements out there. This is kind of a public service part of this episode I want to say, because I have heard in recent days that there are people out there making unsubstantiated claims about certain dietary supplements like silver, that it might reduce getting the C word. I see no evidence for any of that. And so what I would say is, when in doubt, the simple answer is the correct answer. And I again, I'm not naming names. I'm just going to say, I've seen some people saying certain things online. some of them well known, some of them not well known, and I'll just say there's no evidence that I've ever seen for any of that stuff in human beings. So what I'm sharing with you here, there's research on this in terms of both bolstering the immune system, but in terms of the current craziness that's around us right now, I can't prove it's going to do any of that either. But in reality, it's about staying healthy for the long haul, just not for what's going on right now. And if I can add one more thing, but with all the craziness that has besieged us all in the recent weeks, I really want you to know that this storm will pass. It really will. And that brings me to the quote of the week. And this one I think is appropriate. It's short and sweet. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Robert Schuller. Until next week, I'm Joe Cannon. Be safe, and where you can, do try to make a difference.